think plants such a thing in your brain? Where does it begin? You say right from the beginning with you? Like why? Why you? What got in your brain?
I'll tell you. I know exactly what got in my brain.
Really?
So, yes.
And when?
I'll tell you. OCD is, the inability to. It's like a skipping record, right? Regardless of what the thought. Somebody has to walk in a door. They have to tap the door 3 times, and they can't walk into a room. They tap it 3 times. My germophobia. I had OCD, but how it was going to affect me was molded by when I was 5 years old. I was in Miami, and I was sitting on the beach, and I got bit by a sandfly. And the sandfly laid its larva in my hand. I didn't know this. And I had like these mosquito bites when I went home, and they were really itchy. I remember being a little kid, and I would scratch the mosquito bite, and then I'd watch the mosquito bite crawl away under my arm. And then all over my body, I had these things growing under my skin, and they would scratch away. So my mom took me to a dermatologist. The dermatologist went fucking nuts. He goes, "This is great, and we're having an international dermatology convention this week. Can I bring your son?" And they brought me, I'll never forget this, they brought me, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. They brought me, and I was sitting in, it was kind of like, I guess it was a theater, and they put me on a gurney. They tied me down to the gurney. They took off my clothes. I'm standing there, lying there in my tighty whities. And the guy explains that we haven't seen this in humans before. This is cattle get this disease where sandflies lay their larvae under the skin. And the people are asking questions. What do you think you're going to do? He says, "I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of them with liquid nitrogen." And they brought in a tank. Liquid nitrogen is like dry ice. It's like... It's crazy cold. I'm not a science major, but they freeze it, but essentially they burn it. I had no anesthesia or anything, and he starts dropping the liquid nitrogen on these bumps. And I remember a blood-curdling scream, and I look at my skin, it was sizzling, and these larva bumps were bubbling up, and they were blistering, like he was burning me alive. My mother screamed, ran up, ripped off the, they had me tied down so I wouldn't move under this thing, took me to the car and took me home, and it wouldn't take me to the doctor. And then every night, what my mom would do, we would pick one, and she took a dry, rough cloth. Every night, at first it started really good, felt good, and she would rub it and rub it and rub it and rub it until my skin would break and bleed, and the larva would come out. And it took a year to get them all. We would do one a night, and they were all gone. From that time on, I never wanted to touch anything. And that embedded in my mind.
I don't want to touch anything after hearing that story.
Sorry.
I know, no, it's just...
It's funny, isn't it?
It's so harrowing. It's
traumatic.
Well, and also, yes, honestly, it's traumatic just listening to it. Because you realize that the littlest thing that you could not in any way prevent. So as a control freak, this makes my alarm bells go off. Because I guess I could prevent this if I never went on a beach, but that's not going to happen. I go on beaches, But it didn't have to be sand crabs or whatever it was. It could be anything that could happen tomorrow.
But I think the PTSD of it all is the fact, and maybe triggering my OCD, is the fact that if I shake your hand and I feel a little bit of sweat, then my mind goes to, there is something in my skin. There's something on my skin. There's something foreign there. Right. It's going to get in there. And it's kind of like if you go to war, if somebody slams a door, it's not a gunshot.
But again, I think this is still, we're describing this phenomenon of one part of your brain understands, it's the discussion we're having. And the other part, the lizard part, shall we call it?
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if there's a way to hypnotize you or something. So
I've tried everything. I've tried hypnosis.
I'm sure you have, of course.
And I've gone everywhere. That saying of ignorance being bliss is, it's true.
Right.
I wish I was ignorant. I wish I wasn't aware of who was around. I wish I didn't understand what happened to me when I was a child. I wish, and I do suffer. So when I hear you, on television saying we don't want this happening to other people.
Right.
And the reference is the Howie Mandel. We don't want to raise that. And I feel this way, like when I have grandchildren now, and I was concerned.
What?
What do you mean?
It's just depressing that my friends now have grandchildren.
I've had grandchildren for years. I've been married for 42 years.
Me too.
No, you haven't.